The football world stopped scrolling the moment Jose Mourinho's comments about the Club World Cup began making headlines. During a recent interview, the veteran manager joked that he would prefer Real Madrid's players to return early from international duty so they could be fresh for pre-season. On the surface, it sounded like classic Mourinho, provocative, witty, and guaranteed to spark debate. But when one of those players is Vinicius Jr., a superstar whose relationship with Mourinho has already been heavily scrutinized, every word carries extra weight. Almost instantly, social media exploded with speculation. Fans began asking whether Mourinho was sending a message to his future squad. Others wondered if the comments hinted at deeper tension behind the scenes. Supporters defended both men, critics dissected every sentence, and headlines quickly turned a light-hearted remark into one of football's biggest talking points. The timing couldn't be more fascinating. Vinicius is focused on performing on the world's biggest stage, while Mourinho prepares for a new chapter at Real Madrid. Their paths are set to collide, and every interview, every result, and every public statement will be examined under a microscope. So, was Mourinho simply making a joke that every club manager secretly understands? Or has this become another chapter in a relationship that was already surrounded by controversy? As more reactions pour in from fans, pundits, and former players, one thing is certain. The spotlight on Mourinho and Vinicius has never been brighter, and what happens next could shape the conversation long before the new season even begins. To understand why Jose Mourinho's recent comments created such a massive reaction, you have to look beyond the headline and understand the context surrounding both Mourinho and Vinicius Jr. On paper, the story seems simple. A new Real Madrid manager speaks about wanting his players back from international duty as quickly as possible. In reality, the comment landed in the middle of an already complicated relationship that has been under scrutiny for months. The controversy began when Mourinho, speaking during a podcast appearance, discussed the challenge club managers face during major international tournaments. Real Madrid have several key players representing their countries, including Vinicius Jr., Kylian Mbappé, Aurelien Tchouameni, and Antonio Rudiger. Mourinho joked that he hoped Real Madrid players would return early so he could have them available for pre-season preparations. In isolation, comments like that are not unusual. Managers across world football often worry about players returning late, fatigued, or injured after international tournaments. The problem was not necessarily the football logic behind the statement. The problem was who was saying it and which player many fans immediately connected it to. For Vinicius, the remark arrived after months of intense public attention. The Brazilian winger has become one of the most visible figures in world football, not only because of his performances for Real Madrid and Brazil, but also because of the repeated discussions surrounding racism in the sport. Over the past few seasons, Vinicius has spoken openly about abuse he has experienced in stadiums, and several incidents involving racist behavior toward him have resulted in investigations and court proceedings in Spain. That history matters because Mourinho and Vinicius were already linked by a controversial Champions League night in Lisbon earlier this year. During a match involving Real Madrid and Benfica, Vinicius reported that he had been subjected to racist abuse by an opposing player. The match was temporarily paused under UEFA's anti-racism protocol while officials investigated the situation. After the game, Mourinho, then managing Benfica, gave a press conference that drew significant criticism. Rather than focusing solely on the allegation itself, he commented on Vinicius's goal celebration and said he wanted to remain balanced while hearing both sides of the dispute. Critics argued that those remarks shifted attention away from the reported abuse and placed unnecessary focus on the player's behavior. Mourinho later clarified that he was not defending racist conduct and that any player found guilty of such behavior should face consequences. The reaction from the football community was immediate. Former players, coaches, and anti-discrimination organizations debated whether Mourinho's comments were appropriate. Some defended his right to call for due process, while others believed he had made a serious mistake by discussing the celebration at all during a racism controversy. The debate became one of the most talked-about football stories of the season. That is why the recent World Cup comment attracted so much attention. Many fans did not hear it as a simple pre-season scheduling joke. Instead, they interpreted it through the lens of everything that had happened in Lisbon. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, the previous controversy changed the meaning many people attached to Mourinho's words. At the same time, Vinicius has continued to perform at an elite level. He remains one of Brazil's most important players and one of Real Madrid's biggest stars. His form for club and country has kept him in the conversation alongside some of the world's top attackers, and every major tournament match now carries enormous scrutiny. The result is a story that sits at the intersection of football, personality, media narratives, and public perception. Mourinho insists his comments were about pre-season preparation. Many supporters believe the reaction has been exaggerated. Others see the remark as another example of a relationship that already appears tense. What is certain is that the discussion has become much bigger than a single podcast quote. With Mourinho preparing for a new era at Real Madrid and Vinicius expected to be one of the club's central figures, every future interaction between the two men will be watched closely. Whether they develop a strong working partnership or continue to face questions about their relationship may become one of the defining stories of the upcoming season. The real conflict wasn't created by an official statement from Vinicius Jr. It was created by how football fans interpreted Jose Mourinho's words. When Mourinho remarked that, as a club manager, he would prefer his players to return from international duty as early as possible for pre-season preparations, many supporters recognized the familiar Mourinho style. Throughout his managerial career, he has often mixed humor with blunt honesty, knowing full well that even casual comments can dominate football headlines. However, because the comment came while Vinicius was starring on the international stage, the reaction became far bigger than anyone expected. Social media quickly split into two camps. One side argued that Mourinho's comments were completely normal. Managers at elite clubs constantly worry about players returning exhausted after major tournaments. Every extra match increases the risk of fatigue and injury, potentially affecting the start of a long club season. The other side believed the timing was unfortunate. With Vinicius carrying enormous expectations and already facing intense media attention throughout his career, some supporters felt the comments were unnecessary, even if they were intended as a joke. Suddenly, what began as a short interview clip became one of football's biggest online debates. Every sports show wanted to discuss it. Every football podcast had an opinion. Every fan account produced its own interpretation. And that's where the first twist appeared. Instead of the story becoming about Mourinho versus Vinicius, it became about perception. Did Mourinho actually criticize his own player? Or had the internet transformed a light-hearted remark into a controversy that never truly existed? Those questions fueled days of discussion. Meanwhile, Vinicius continued focusing on football. Rather than engaging publicly with every headline or online reaction, attention remained on his performances, his contributions on the pitch, and Brazil's ambitions in the tournament. That silence became a story of its own. Some interpreted it as professionalism. Others believed he simply wanted to avoid unnecessary distractions before crucial matches. Without a direct response, speculation filled the vacuum. Every new training session was analyzed. Every interview was searched for hidden meaning. Every facial expression became material for social media theories. This is the reality of modern football. Today's biggest stories aren't always created by what players say. Sometimes they're created by what fans think players might be thinking. That's exactly what happened here. Mourinho's reputation also played a major role. Few managers in football history have generated headlines as consistently as the Portuguese coach. Over 2 decades, Mourinho has built a career on confidence, psychological battles, memorable quotes, and an ability to dominate media cycles. Because of that history, many supporters naturally searched for a deeper meaning behind his comments. Was this classic Mourinho mind games? Was he trying to reduce pressure on his squad? Or was it simply another example of his dry sense of humor? Different audiences reached completely different conclusions. The uncertainty only kept the conversation alive. At the same time, Real Madrid supporters found themselves asking another important question. What will the relationship between Mourinho and Vinicius actually look like once club football resumes? On paper, the pairing makes sense. One is among football's most decorated managers. The other is one of the world's most explosive attacking talents. If they work together successfully, Real Madrid could become even stronger. Yet football history has shown that strong personalities sometimes need time to understand one another. That possibility created another layer of intrigue. Not because there was confirmed conflict, but because expectations were already enormous before a single training session had even taken place. Former players and television analysts added further perspective. Many pointed out that club managers frequently hope international tournaments don't leave key players exhausted. Others reminded viewers that players dream of representing their countries on the biggest stage and would never intentionally shorten that opportunity. Those two realities aren't contradictory. They simply reflect the constant balance elite football clubs must manage between club commitments and international football. As the debate continued, one fact remained undeniable. Vinicius' performances kept attracting attention for the right reasons. Every goal, every assist, every successful dribble shifted part of the conversation back toward football itself. Instead of discussing interviews, fans were once again discussing his impact on the pitch. Ironically, that became the biggest twist of all. The story many expected to become a personal feud instead evolved into a wider discussion about media narratives, online speculation, and how quickly a few sentences can become worldwide headlines. Whether Mourinho intended the comment humorously or seriously, its impact demonstrated just how closely every word from elite managers is scrutinized. And with pre-season approaching, the football world now waits for the first real images of Mourinho and Vinicius working together. Will they quickly develop a successful partnership? Or will every interaction continue to generate headlines until results on the pitch finally provide the answers? That uncertainty has become the real story, and it's one that only the upcoming season can resolve. As the debate continued, the conversation grew beyond Jose Mourinho's original comments. What started as a brief interview clip evolved into a wider discussion about leadership, communication, and the pressure that surrounds elite football. Every major football outlet analyzed the remarks from a different angle. Some commentators argued that Mourinho's comments reflected a reality every club manager faces. International tournaments are physically demanding, and clubs invest heavily in players whose fitness is crucial for an entire season. Others questioned whether the remarks were wise, regardless of intent. With Vinicius Jr. already under constant media scrutiny, critics suggested that public comments about wanting players to return early could easily be misunderstood by supporters. That disagreement became the real story. Meanwhile, Vinicius continued to let his football do the talking. Rather than publicly responding to every headline or social media debate, his focus remained on preparing for matches and contributing to his national team. Every strong performance shifted attention back toward his form instead of the surrounding speculation. Former players also weighed in. Several noted that dressing rooms often separate public comments from private conversations. A manager's interview rarely tells the full story of the relationship between coach and player. Until Mourinho and Vinicius actually begin working together at club level, much of the discussion remains speculative. That perspective cooled some of the online reaction, but not all of it. Supporters continued dissecting every quote, every interview, and every report for signs of tension. In modern football, narratives can spread faster than verified information, especially when two high-profile figures are involved. The biggest development wasn't an argument between Mourinho and Vinicius, it was how quickly the story took on a life of its own. Across social media, short clips circulated without their full context. Headlines emphasized the most provocative phrases, while fans debated what Mourinho really meant. Some defended his direct style, saying it was classic Mourinho humor. Others believed elite managers should avoid comments that can be interpreted in multiple ways. The discussion highlighted how difficult it has become for public figures to control the narrative once a statement goes viral. Another factor added even more intrigue: expectations at Real Madrid. Whenever a new manager arrives, supporters immediately wonder how he will use the club's biggest stars. Vinicius is one of the team's most influential attacking players, making any discussion involving him especially significant. Fans naturally began asking how Mourinho's tactical philosophy would fit with Vinicius' explosive style of play. Those football questions gradually became more important than the original interview itself. Could Mourinho build a system that maximizes Vinicius' strengths? Would the winger continue to enjoy the same attacking freedom? How would one of football's most experienced managers work with one of the game's brightest stars? Those are questions that only competitive matches can answer. In many ways, that became the key revelation. Despite days of headlines, there was still no concrete evidence of a personal feud. What existed was a highly public debate driven by interpretation, media coverage, and fan reaction. As pre-season approaches, attention will inevitably shift from interviews to performances. Every training session, every press conference, and every match will be closely watched for signs of how the relationship develops. Until then, the football world is left with anticipation rather than certainty. The biggest answers won't come from podcasts or headlines. They'll come when Mourinho and Vinicius step onto the training ground together and begin the work of preparing for a new season. As the discussion spread across football media, it became clear that the biggest reaction wasn't coming from the people directly involved, it was coming from everyone around them. Fans, former players, journalists, and analysts all offered different interpretations of Jose Mourinho's comments, creating a debate that stretched far beyond a single interview. On social media, opinions split almost immediately. One group defended Mourinho, arguing that every top-level club manager secretly hopes their key players avoid unnecessary fatigue during international tournaments. From their perspective, his comments reflected a practical concern about pre-season preparation rather than a personal criticism of any individual player. Supporters pointed out that elite clubs invest heavily in their stars, making player fitness a legitimate priority. Others saw things differently. Critics argued that timing matters just as much as intent. With Vinicius Jr. representing his country on one of football's biggest stages, they felt the remarks were bound to generate headlines and unnecessary speculation. Even if Mourinho intended the comments as humor, some believed they were likely to be misunderstood in today's fast-moving media environment. Television analysts also weighed in. Several former professionals noted that football managers have always balanced club interests against international commitments. They explained that while managers naturally want their players back healthy and rested, players dream of representing their countries in major tournaments. Those priorities can coexist without creating conflict. Many journalists emphasized another important point: there was no verified public statement from Vinicius responding directly to Mourinho's comments. Much of the online discussion was driven by interpretation rather than confirmed exchanges between the two men. That distinction became increasingly important as headlines grew more dramatic. The football media also highlighted Mourinho's long-standing reputation as one of the sport's most outspoken personalities. Throughout his career, he has delivered memorable quotes that often dominate news cycles for days. Because of that history, many observers argued that his comments were being viewed through the lens of his past rather than as an isolated remark. Real Madrid supporters found themselves divided as well. Some fans expressed confidence that two elite professionals would quickly put any perceived misunderstanding behind them once club training resumed. Others admitted they were curious to see how the relationship would develop, knowing both Mourinho and Vinicius are strong personalities with high expectations. Football podcasts and debate shows quickly turned the topic into one of the week's biggest talking points. Discussions shifted from the original interview to broader questions about media narratives, player management, and the pressure that accompanies life at one of the world's biggest clubs. Interestingly, many analysts argued that the situation demonstrated how modern football conversations evolve. A brief comment can be clipped, shared, and interpreted thousands of different ways within hours, often creating a much larger story than the original statement itself. Throughout the debate, Vinicius' performances on the pitch remained central to the discussion. Each strong display reminded supporters why he is considered one of football's elite attacking talents. For many observers, his football ultimately spoke louder than the speculation surrounding the headlines. In the end, the industry's reaction reflected just how closely every word from a high-profile manager is scrutinized. Whether people viewed Mourinho's comments as harmless humor or an unnecessary distraction, most agreed on one thing: the real story will unfold once pre-season begins. Until then, much of the conversation remains speculation, while fans around the world wait to see how one of football's most talked-about manager-player relationships develops in practice rather than in headlines. After days of headlines, debates, and countless social media posts, one surprising reality remains: the biggest question still hasn't been answered. Not because anyone is hiding something, but because the story can only be resolved on the pitch. Jose Mourinho has built a career on commanding attention with his words, while Vinicius Jr. has built his reputation by responding with performances. That contrast is exactly what makes this situation so compelling. Every future press conference, training session, and competitive match will now be viewed through the lens of this debate. If Mourinho and Vinicius quickly develop a strong working relationship, much of the current speculation will likely fade into the background. Success has a way of changing narratives in football. Winning matches and trophies often speaks louder than weeks of headlines. But if disagreements emerge during the season, or if either man makes another high-profile public comment, the discussion could return even stronger. Fans and media will inevitably compare those moments to the controversy surrounding Mourinho's remarks, searching for signs that there is more happening behind the scenes. For now, though, there is no confirmed public feud to point to, only a highly scrutinized exchange that has fueled widespread debate. The next chapter won't be written by interviews or online speculation. It will be written through results, performances, and how manager and player work together when the season begins. And that's what makes this story worth following. The headlines may have started with a few comments, but the real verdict will come only after Mourinho and Vinicius step onto the same training ground. Until then, football fans around the world will be watching closely, wondering whether this becomes one of the season's strongest partnerships, or simply another viral story that fades once the whistle blows. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more in-depth football analysis, breaking news, and the biggest stories from around the world of soccer. What do you think about Mourinho's comments? Were they simply a joke about pre-season planning, or do you think they were always going to be misunderstood because of the attention surrounding both Mourinho and Vinicius Jr.? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this analysis interesting, share it with fellow football fans so they can join the discussion. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos covering transfers, match analysis, press conferences, and the biggest talking points from the football world. Thanks for watching, and remember, in football, the biggest headlines are created on the pitch. We'll be back soon with another in-depth breakdown. Until next time, take care and enjoy the beautiful game.